The story begins by jumping back and forth between the lives of our two protagonists in Russia. First, there is Dominika Yegorova, a famous ballerina that is in charge of taking care of her sick mom. After a visit to the doctor, Dominika leaves her mother with a caretaker so she can go to work. Once in the theater, she changes and puts on makeup before going to meet the guests, which include her uncle Ivan Yegorov, deputy director of Russian Secret Service. He introduces her to Dmitry Ustinov, a Russian gangster that asks her for a picture and takes the chance to touch her improperly. Dominika is dancing as wonderfully as ever, when suddenly, his dancing partner jumps and lands on her leg, breaking it. Dominika is immediately taken to have surgery. The other side, Nate Nash, a CIA agent, who is taking a phone call from an automatic caller that dictates some words to him, and when he arrives there, he notices he's being followed by a car. A mysterious man, codenamed Marble, is walking towards him as well, and Nate hands him something. The car is still following him though, so to give the man a chance to escape, Nate creates a distraction by shooting the floor and starts running away as the car gives him chase. He reaches town and is surrounded by the police, just as he makes it to the American embassy. But Nate will still be sent back to the USA for his mistake. The next day, Ivan visits Colonel Zakharov, director of the Secret Service. In his office, they show Ivan a video of Nate's meeting at the park and mention he's a CIA agent that left the country that morning, but their main interest lies in the other man and finding out his identity. 3 months pass. Dominika, who is still walking with the aid of a cane, is visited by Ivan. Ivan says he wants to help her and asks her to come to him, when also leaves an envelope for her before leaving. Dominika opens the envelope and finds pictures that show her dancing partner has been romantically involved with her replacement. That implies he jumped on her on purpose so his girlfriend could take Dominika's place. Dominika follows them, and she starts using her cane to beat them both to the ground before running away. When she arrives at her apartment, the caretaker is nowhere to be seen. Her mother tells her that the caretaker didn't come because the theater had stopped paying him, knowing she has no other choice now. Dominika goes to see her uncle to ask him for help. She helps him in return for a small matter. Ivan wants to contact Ustinov, befriend him, and gain his trust using his charming style. That very night, Dominika goes to the hotel Ustinov is staying in, wearing the dress she's been given. She goes to the bar to wait for Ustinov to approach her first, which he does. Dominika tells him she's come to see him, so they leave for her room. When she comes closer, Ustinov wastes no time in taking advantage of her. Their intercourse is suddenly interrupted when a man wearing a black helmet appears behind Ustinov and cuts his throat. The man takes off his helmet to reveal Sergei Madorin, another Secret Service agent sent by Ivan, who is in another room in the same building together with Kortnoy, watching Dominika on the security cameras. When Kortnoy mentions she's a witness and she should be eliminated, Ivan mentions she could be useful. He then offers her, since she is so good at it, to send her to a special institution to train her to become an agent. When she arrives there, she's received by Madorin, the headmistress of Sparrow School. She gives Dominika a fake name to use in the school before taking her to her room. The students will be trained to be sparrows, spies who specialized in seduction and psychological manipulation. Dominika and a student named Victor are called to the front of the class and asked if Victor does so without issues. But Dominika doesn't dare. Madorin scolds her for it. Meanwhile, in the school, the students are asked to give a welcome to a group of soldiers that just returned home from war. Dominika chooses a young man and takes him to her room, where she successfully gives him a hand. Madorin tells Dominika her technique was good, but she still hasn't learned to give herself up. After class is over, Dominika goes to the showers, where she's assaulted by Victor. She defends herself by taking the water tap from the wall and hitting him with it. Back in the Sparrow School, Madorin and a newly arrived Kortnoy question Dominika for her attack on Victor. She explains she owes and serves the state, not her classmate. She's allowed to go back to class, where Madorin once again calls her to the front, while Kortnoy watches from a security camera. Victor is asked what he wants as he enters the room. Madorin orders him to give him what he wants. She takes off her clothes and tells Victor to just look at her. She sits on the table with her legs spread. Victor can't lift her and runs away. Then Dominika answers Madorin's question what he wants. His power. Kortnoy is impressed. Moments later, Madorin meets with Dominika in private again and tells her she'd be sent back to Moscow. When she makes it there, she sits with him and he explains her next mission. She'll be sent to Budapest to befriend Nate and gain his trust so she can learn the identity of their mole. She makes it to Budapest a couple of days later and goes to stay at an apartment she'll share with a fellow Sparrow, Marta. Later that she meets with her new boss, Station Chief Maxim Valentov, and asks him for some information on Nate. The next day, Dominika starts going to the same swimming pool that Nate goes to, and Nate talks to her as they leave the building. The following day, however, she doesn't find Nate at the pool, and the receptionist tells her ID has gone missing. Turns out, Nate already knows she isn't what she says. He thinks she's in, that her using her real name is a provocation. After some hesitation, his superiors allow him to get closer to her to gather intel. Dominika searches Marta's room and discovers she's been buying intelligence from Boucher. Marta returns home then but doesn't catch her in the act. She gives Dominika a copy of the report Volantov sent to Moscow. Apparently, Dominika has made an enemy. The next day after work, she follows Volantov into a bar and asks him to buy her time, then provokes him into punching her by making fun of his small member. His violence is now on the security cameras, and Dominika tells him he'll write a better report or she'll take the recording to the police. A crying Dominika rings his bell. He allows her to come in, while sharing some whiskey. Dominika tells him his boss assaulted him. Dominika asks him what happened in that park in Russia and kisses him after he tells her. Nate tells her to go home and figure out what she wants. The next day, Ivan visits Dominika before leaving for Vienna. He asks about her progress with Nate, since their superiors are getting impatient. To buy time, she lies and tells him she's also working with Marta on her voucher case, but she need more money, and Ivan accepts. Later on, Dominika goes to Vienna and opens a bank account there while Marta visits Volantov to tell him she knows how to get rid of Dominika. Dominika returns to her place that night and finds Marta murdered in the bathtub. Suddenly, Sergei appears behind her and grabs her by the neck to pass on a warning. This is what happens to those that share secrets. Meanwhile, Dominika is being interrogated by the police, but she tells them nothing. When she leaves the precinct, she finds Nate outside waiting for her. They go back to his place where he confesses he knows she's a sparrow. Dominika tells him her story in return, putting emphasis on the fact she only cares about her mother's well-being. Nate asks her to be a double agent for him, promising her protection. Dominika meets with Nate's superiors and is put through a liar detector test to see if she can be trusted. When they accept her, she asks for money. They laugh at her, but they change their minds when she tells them she can give them voucher. The next day, Dominika stays in a special hotel room the CIA prepared for her with security cameras to monitor her. Moments later, while she's at the bar waiting for voucher, he's surprised by the sudden appearance of Volantov, who supposedly wants to help. Dominika sends him to her room, otherwise his presence will scare Voucher off. Voucher arrives soon afterward, and Dominika goes to her, explaining Marta sent her. Both women go to Dominika's room where Volantov is waiting. Voucher gives her the discs in exchange for the money, and Dominika pretends to take the discs to her computer to check they're real when she's actually trading them with the CIA's and Volantov leave. Then after telling Voucher to wait an hour till Voucher is anxious and drunk, so she leaves soon after. When she makes it to the street, she notices she's being followed. So she throws the money in a trash can and crosses the street where a truck hits and kills her. Dominika is in a car with Volantov when this happens and he quickly gets the news. On the phone, he tells Dominika they've been given orders to return to Moscow immediately and takes her passport. When they make it to Moscow, Ivan takes the discs from Volantov before arresting him. Both he and Dominika are under suspicion of having helped the Americans. When asked about it, she denies it, so she starts being tortured in different ways for the real answer, but she doesn't give in. They even show her a video of how was shot for lying. But when the interrogator points at her head and she lies again, nothing happens. After a difficult meeting with Kortnoy and Zakharov, Ivan returns to his apartment, where Dominika is waiting. He tells her they've granted her request to let her keep working on Nate. She kisses him before leaving. Dominika returns to Budapest and meets with Nate. In middle of the night, Dominika wakes up when she hears a noise. She goes to the kitchen to find Sergei torturing Nate. She pretends to be on his side at first, even helping him hurt Nate to get the name of the mole. But when Sergei gets distracted, she hits him back and helps Nate cut the straps, tying him to the chair. The three of them get into a fight that doesn't last long. Sergei slips and Dominika takes the chance to stab him. She wakes up in the hospital the next day and leaves her room to have a smoke. She's then approached by Kortnoy, who reveals himself as Mabo. He thinks he'll be caught soon and doesn't want to die in vain. So he asks Dominika to expose him so she can become a hero and take his place as a mole. She gives herself up to the police and asks to see the Russian ambassador. When she's taken to him, she tells him to call Zakharov and inform him she has the name of the mole, which she'll give him in exchange for her freedom. A meeting to do the exchange is arranged later that night at an airport. Nate will walk with her to confirm the identity of the mole, and she mustn't try to run or she'll be shot. Nate is angry with her because he thinks she's used him, but she has a surprise when the Russians approach them with the mole. They take the bag off his face to reveal it's not Kortnoy. It's her uncle Ivan, who has been framed thanks to Dominika fabricating evidence since she made it to Budapest the first time. Nate quickly catches on and confirms Ivan is the mole. After the exchange is done, Ivan is shot by a Russian sniper and Dominika is taken away on a helicopter. Back in Russia, she's named a heroine and allowed to have a good life with her mom.